session at 7:57. We will now do a hearing of the public. First on the list is George McClay.
There's a list here, you know.
Yeah, I saw it before I sat down. There were only two names. I think I've got three lines. We'll see.
Thank you for taking time tonight. Thank you for taking time tonight to listen to me about addressing the budget for 2018. FBI standards say that we should have 2.3 full-time officers for every 1,000 citizens we have. So if we say we have 9,000 citizens, we should have 21 full-time officers. Obviously, we cannot do that. But to go backwards, like we were talking about, is going back into our past history, which I hope we've learned from. But with that being said, I'd like to talk to you just about hours. Right now, we have 9 full-time officers. 7 to cover the street, 24 hours a day. But I need 8 to do that. I need 8 full-time officers to cover the street, 24 hours a day. We have 1 resource officer at the school, and we have 1 truck enforcement officer. As an officer typically works 2,080 hours a year. That gives you 16,640 hours. With only 7 officers full-time, that gives us coverage for 14,560 hours. So back to the 2,080, now we add in vacation time, holiday, pay time, and sick time. For an average officer working 1,700 hours a year for those 7 officers. That leaves our officers available to work 11,900 hours a year. So we go back to the number of hours needed to cover the streets 24 hours a day with 2 officers. That's 16,640. Now we do the math. You take away 11,900 from the 16,640. That leaves us coverage in the whole of 4,740 hours a year in the whole. So if we hire a full-time officer, he will take care of a good amount of that, leaving 2,660 hours to be covered for my part-timers. There's no way I'm covering the streets with 4,700 hours with part-timers. It's just not going to happen. Looking at the current proposed budget, our health insurance is staying the same. Our workman's comp is down $10,000 to be funded. Our car insurance is down $1,000 to be funded. I don't know how. These are plain numbers, plain simple numbers. The budget that has been proposed will leave the department short on manpower as well as short on training and equipment, adding up to a very good chance that we'll only have 1 officer on the street at times. Which that officer may have an arrest, that leaves you no officers on the street. We're going back into history. We're going back to a place that 4 years ago you don't want to go to. We talked about getting rid of your department. Can I take a department and maybe just put manpower on the street from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m.? I can do that. We can bring state police in at midnight. We can do different things like that, so you can have the adequate manpower for a period, but it's going to leave you quite short at different times. So with that being said, I'm staying up a lot of hours at night thinking about this, trying to figure out how to work these numbers. I'm losing a lot of sleep. Now, if I would just hear that we're going to open up this budget again come January 2nd, and we're going to look at the taxes and everything else, then we can just put this to rest. But if not, the council has to seriously look at those hours I just talked about. Those hours are real. They're not made up, they're contractual hours. Thank you.
Chief, quick question. So essentially what you're asking for is 1 more full-time officer and your existing complement of part-time, that would be enough?
My existing, yes, I need a full-time officer.
1 full-time.
One. That will just put me back to where we were. That'll give you 8 full-time officers. That covers your street, 24 hours a day, with 2 officers on the street all the time.
How do you get 8 officers to cover the street, 1 officer on shift every hour? How do you do that with 8 officers?
There's 2 shifts, 2 12-hour
No,
shifts.
don't talk about shifts, I'm talking about hours. How many hours are there in a day? 24. Now, if you double 24, because you're getting 2 officers, right? That's 48, right? That's 48 hours a day, 2 officers. 48 times 365, which is that's how many days you have in a year, that comes to 17,520 hours. This is not the quadratic equation, do the math. 48 times 365.
Okay, if I go with your numbers, then I'm another 1,000 hours short.
No, and using your 1,700 hours, could be a little more, let's say 1,700 hours. 1,700 into 17,520. How many officers do you need full-time? 1,700 into 17,000.
Beck, you know the answer. Say the
That's
answer.
10. Right now you have 7. You're short 3 officers, full-time. The officers work 1,700 hours. That's over 5,000 hours you're short. How are you going to make up those 5,000 hours? You hire 1 full-timer, that takes up another 1,700 hours. Because unless you get a little more time out of a full-timer, but you don't get. You're still short.
I'm still short no matter
Yes,
which
you
way
are
you go.
short. But I think council should have the right figures.
Well, I think the right figures I have, but you come up with a different.
Do the math. Anybody understand what 365 times 48 is?
One way or the other, long story short,
It's long story short, you're short
Short
about 5,000
officers.
hours.
yes,
We know that.
I'm short officers. So we're going back.
How much money do you have for the police budget this year? Has it got 770,000
For,
for police salaries?
No.
Full-time officers.
it's got 740,000.
He's got
But his
740,000.
total is, he has 5,250 hours with his corpus. 5 police officers come to 8,750.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking how much time, how much money is he asking for full-time salary? Not counting the chief.
857,000.
857,000. That's not counting the chief,
It's not counting chief,
and it's not counting the school resource officer.
not counting a resource officer.
That should be enough.
Yes, it is counting the school resource officer. Yes, it is counting the truck enforcement officer.
Oh, and your numbers, yes. Not in mine.
857 includes all the officers.
Again, though, I'm just going back to our budget that we have now. If this is the scenario that's gonna be played,
He's budgeting
that's
7.
why we have actuals in there.
You said you're budgeting 740 or 840?
740.
You're short. You gotta come closer to 8. Do the
Well,
math.
it depends on the hours, it's man hours, right? You said that, you said 17,500.
Right.
Well, with
That's
overtime,
10 full-time officers.
yeah, but we have 5,000,
He only has,
5,410.
right now he only has 7. He's short 5,000 hours. A little more.
Yeah, that's why that line was put under that we have to have
How do you make up the 5,000 hours?
the part-time officers.
That's a lot of part-time officers.
5,410 hours. And we have overtime, which comes to another 800 and
Overtime.
some.
You're not counting
Time and a half.
another full-time officer in there.
That's time and a half.
You don't form budgets on time and a half, you form on
Well,
hours
again,
and how much you need to fund those hours. How many cops do you want, this council has to decide 1 of 2 or 3 things. Are you gonna hire another full-time officer, and that kills some of the gap? And then fill in that gap if you don't wanna go to 10 officers or 11 officers. It's what most consultants will tell you. The FBI figures that's dream world. Most consultants will tell you, do the 10 officers, you put 1 more salary in there, you don't hire the officer in case of, because you could have a cop that goes out with a serious injury, keeps him out all year. Workers' comp don't pay the whole salary, doesn't pay the whole salary. You're short there, you're short over 5,000 hours. How do you make that up? You wanna hire another full-time officer to get 1,700 or 1,800 hours more? Then you fill the rest of that in with part-time, overtime? Those are your choices here.
Well, that's what I did. That's why I put $50,000 in overtime. Last year, we only had 28,000.
Tell me where you put the 50,000, you need the entire budget covered. You said you have 740, I'm saying you're coming up about $40,000 or $50,000 short.
Well,
A lot more than
it's the
that.
same if we move it into, take from overtime and take from the part-time police. There's enough money for another
I give up.
officer in the insurance. However,
You're saying keep all the money that we put in for the overtime, all the
740.
money that we put in for.
How he spends it,
Wait,
or-
all I'm
that's-
saying, and more money for more part-time, because he said he could use any amount he needed to
to
cover.
make up that 500,000,
What I'm
he
saying
needs
is-
more than 740.
All I'm saying is, then what, we should rearrange those things within the fund? Do we take back from the overtime amount of money? Do we take back from the part-time to put
I
in
don't
for
know
that
how you do it.
officer?
I'm just telling you what he needs funded fully.
I have a question. Okay, let's say we were able to move things around to give you that extra, that replacement part-time officer. Would you then need 8 part-time officers, or could you go back to having 6 part-time officers like it was before?
well, I
You
think-
guys, excuse me, she asked me a question. Do you think that part-time officers cost us money?
I'm sorry?
Do you think part-time officers cost us a lot of money?
I don't think it costs us a lot of money, but I'm trying to work it so that,
As the councilman said, we have so many hours we gotta cover.
right,
I want to cover with part-time officers, if I have full part-time officers to do that.
right.
We talked about the last scenario where the Bucks County Consortium list just came out. I have 2 of my officers on that.
Right.
They're being highly recruited. All right, so now I'm down. All right, now I gotta get those, I gotta find good part-time officers. I've been lucky. People now want to come and work here, and I've been lucky with that. But I gotta train them. This last kid that we hired.
And you don't always get them, George. You know
Kyle,
that.
right, we're lucky, we've been lucky. Last kid was a college graduate, Kyle, that cost me, if I do the math, I bet that cost me $7,000 or $8,000 to train him, at least,
Because I
not
was
more.
trying,
So
I
you
was
got
going
it,
back.
so I gotta, so even if I go and get more people to come in and work here, that's where it costs me to train them, because I gotta train them, I have to take 8 weeks to train an officer. I just can't throw them out on the street and say, here's your gun badge, thanks for the academy. You need a lot more than that. So I have to have my full-time budget, my full-time officers covered. That's a must. You need to
Right.
have that core. So that's where, that's money well spent. I can go and try to get as many part-timers as I can, and I will, and I'll continue to do that. You know, it's
Because
a
I was actually
dance.
trying to work some numbers to
What you gotta do, plain simple,
get another.
those 3 mills that we took out of the budget have to go back in.
That's not it. No, that's not it.
No, that's not good.
That's not it. You
We're
don't
going
have to-
backwards. We're going backwards.
And
We're going
actually,
backwards in
that's not it.
time to when we weren't funded. Do you realize 2 years ago, my budget was $1.96 million? What is it again this year? It's $1.96 million. How are we doing that year after year after year? Somewhere along there, we have to
Last
fund
year, you didn't
the
spend the
police
whole
budget.
budget.
2 years you were under budget
Right,
and still had the officers.
right. Okay, it's not coming out of that line item, but you're giving me money to spend. Okay, I took the council president downstairs last week to show him what we did in the office, and talked about some of the things we did in the office. That we have 7 monitors covering the schools and every place else. They cost us hundreds of dollars, as compared to thousands of dollars. So I'm able to bring that budget down, and we're doing everything we can. We just got a fingerprint scanner this week, a mobile fingerprint scanner, a $3,000 toy for free from the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police. They're the things I'm getting. This is where we should be. And as long as I keep going out there and getting stuff, that keeps that bottom line down. But if you want to run a professional police department and have them trained, that's glad I can't, I need the money. Plain and simple, I need the money, I need 8 full-time guys out there. If not, I'll be okay to send 1 guy out there. That's what the bottom line is gonna finally come to.
So you would need another $42,000 plus insurance.
Now, insurance we should be fine with, we're under budget this year. I mean, nobody can tell the insurance.
Where does 42,000 come from?
$42,000 is a first year salary for a full-time police officer.
I need the number, the bottom line is $857,336 in that line item. And I'll sit down with anybody that wants to sit down in my office and look at what the contractual numbers are and how that number came about. It's all just math, it's right off the contracts.
So you're saying even the 740 that's in the budget isn't covering what you have now?
No. It's not going to, by the time it all goes in at the end, after that protracted number that keeps getting talked about
The
happens.
740,000 that's in here?
I'm saying,
What was the
look that out,
expenditure
you
last
had
year,
what?
Bob?
What's
In
that?
that line, what was the
It's trending to 686,599.
Projected for $686,599. And again, that's with 6 months with Ross in that salary line.
686.
And that's what's being gone for 6 months. And that's
Yeah.
not having the holiday money in
5%
there.
on top of that.
What did you say there? 5%
Give them
off?
5%, how much is 5% on top of that? 7 and change?
They do what we gave them, 740.
Yeah, that comes to 740.
And again, George talked in front of this council before about finding alternatives for revenue to fund our police department. Again, my only point is again, if we had the ability to have more money, it would go to him. I mean, we just really don't have it. I would love to give him $1 million in the salary line, but we have to take it out. If you look at the front page, and we only have sanitation, water, and taxes to fund everything. And we only bring in 1.7 million in property taxes. The rest comes from water, streets, and sanitation. So,
I will agree with George on one thing. You can't rely on part-timers too much. They're not always available. Anybody who deals with part-timers knows that. The chief in Tullytown has 11 part-timers he uses almost entirely. He has trouble getting workers. He's got 11.
And I know you don't like comparing different boroughs to different boroughs. He has the same budget I have with 6 full-time officers. Bristol Borough has the same department size as we do, and they have a $3 million budget. I know you don't like
Yeah, but they
comparing.
pay their part-timers $25 an hour because they get
They
their
get the
vacation. Those are part-timers. So there are some small benefits with Bristol Borough.
It doesn't make up another.
They have a full-time investigator, which you don't have.
Right, I'd love to. If you went with some of the, even close to the FBI numbers, give me another 2, I'll go with your numbers, but give me 10, I'll have an investigator. Which we do need.
So Chief,
I'm only, I just gave you the binomial theorem here. I don't come up with the money. That's up to the smarter people. But I think you need more than 740. I really
Didn't you
do.
say he needed 7 and change?
What?
Didn't you just say he needed 7 and change?
Oh, sure.
I thought going from last year's budget, you said, yes, you bump it up 5%.
5%. That's still short.
Okay. Debbie, what's your question?
well, Chief is under budget at, the final amount was what, was your?
You mean the entire budget? Deb?
1,722,604. So we bumped that up to the 1,966,546, which is a difference of 243,942. And you're saying you still need more above that? Is that what you're saying?
Look at each line item and see what's left. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
You've got $1 million other than personal services there. over $1 million in other than personal services. Personal services, you have less than 800,000. Personal services should be the big bulk of your salaries, in other words.
Well, personnel and insurances.
Well, the insurances are other than personal services.
It's all contractual items that you have to,
Did I hear that you lost a grant or something?
excuse me,
Did you lose a grant for next year?
did we lose it?
Wasn't there a grant that you weren't
We
getting?
put in for it, only 4 departments out in the whole state got it.
And how much of the loss was that?
That was, would have paid for our, half of our full-timer. That's how we paid
Half
for
of
Chris
one
Reardon.
full-time?
Yeah. So you have other choices. I can pull Chris Reardon out of the school and put him in as a full-time officer.
But then you lose the
And then I
grant.
have to, I lose the grant money, I gotta pay the
And you're
feds
in
back
default.
money.
Yeah.
So I'm in default of that agreement. Or I pull our truck officer off and put him into the spot and have him work as a regular patrol officer. And I have other choices. Or I can come back to you, or come back to the mayor with a schedule that we, like I said, we don't cover the streets all the time. But we are going in that
You have
direction.
740 now. If this council found a way to give you 8, 60,000 more, not to give you.
No, not, that number don't work anyway. because of the
Oh, well,
old
there's a way to
police
do it, there's a way.
I'm
to
just
do it.
saying, that's, to put that, if there was another police officer, that'd be 42,000 something more. Why?
He can get full-time coverage with $800,000. How he mixes it up is up to him. $800,000 should pay for 24-hour service, 2 cops on it each.
That
And
would
there
be
are
good.
some extras, I know that. There are times when you need 3 people, like Halloween night, he puts an extra officer on.
They're all part-time guys I put on those
I
hands,
know,
including
but they're
myself.
still in the salary line, George.
No, it's not.
What
That's
do you
the
mean
part,
it's not the salary? How
It's
do you
not the
pay them?
full-time
that's not,
salary.
that's not in the full-time salary
Oh, I'm
line.
talking about, I'm talking within the salary
That's my
line.
fault, you didn't.
Well, anytime we pay somebody, there is a salary line, but it's not the salary line when we're talking about full-timers.
We've got 132,000 extra part-time police.
All right, here's a question.
On top of the 740?
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus 50 and over.
I started working some numbers to get you for another full-time officer. I'm just throwing numbers here. If you take, don't jump at me either. $20,000 off of your overtime, okay? You're giving 55. Bump that down 20,000. Okay, that gives you 55. It still gives you more than what you had last year. Okay. Mr. Subi gave you 132 for your extra part-time. Take that extra out. And then in your forensic and incidental supplies, I just noticed that over the last couple of years, you've had that 4,000 in there, but you really haven't used very much, so I was taking $3,000 out of that. And then your special enforcement equipment, I had noticed you were $6,000 short off of that, and I came to $57,000, which would cover one
What was the
full-time,
other
one
one?
police officer.
I have another.
Is that something that,
So it's line 225.
Why can't we move $60,000 out of the municipal repairs and improvements, which would still put it at 12,000, which would be over what was budgeted for last year, that only used about $1,200 out of it, and just forego any wish list for the building.
You could take some of that. I don't know if I do 50, but I certainly take
Because,
some of that.
again, our heater and air conditioning system costs a lot of money.
But what-
Last year, we only used
what I was
$12,000.
trying to do was not take from that line item and move money around in the
If
police
you're not,
budget.
if you're just moving the line items around, you're not really
Yeah,
giving him
really,
anything, you're just bouncing money.
Well, that's the
Yeah.
point.
But that's moving it
You
to
could go-
salaries.
Instead of 3 cars, you'd go to 1 car.
Well, it's
Like
still,
buys them all at one time.
yeah,
You're still cutting your
it's still
police
within
budget.
that line of what you have in there.
Yeah,
that
but
budget.
you're still within the police budget. But I'm saying, if you want to move money into the salary line, where he says he needs it, then.
That's why I'm moving it within the police budget.
You can go outside of it. What he said is a good idea too, I think some of it.
I mean, you went from $8,675 in 2017 to $72,440 for this year.
In what line?
in the, I'm on the same page as the police board. It's in the municipal repairs and improvements. And that's a major jump. That's money that could be used for an office.
So that's money that he wanted to use.
I think that's why
Well,
you
and
say
long term, we're not gonna be able to get money to redo this place, so every year, if we can have an opportunity to, I mean, our office is.
That's why I was trying to move money within the police
Plus I
budget.
get-
You have what I gave you guys last week?
I did,
Okay,
yes.
that's, tells you, that's taking things away from almost every line item. Taking my police technology all the way down to zero.
Not zero.
Well, that gives me the 4.4% raise. And then I have another doomsday budget that ruins, everything goes. But if you look at the numbers that I gave you, I take away the training fund, that's all the way down to zero. You're looking on a slippery slope. You know, without training, remember 4 years ago when I started, we had 4 lawsuits. Okay, and we had a couple more in the tube getting ready to go to the insurance company that I spoke to them about. They went away, and the 4 went away. They were settled. And since then, we've had none. Because of the training that these officers have, the equipment that they have, the directives that have been put into place, and to keep it, you got it. We're a cost item to the borough. You got to figure out where to come up with the money. We're a nonprofit organization. So over the years, the money hasn't been used. I just never know where that money ever went to. 100,000 here, 200,000 the year before, 200 the year before.
Out of your budget you're talking about? You know where?
Yeah, where'd that money go to?
Where it goes? You would have it in your budget, right? What you spend it on, is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm asking you, I say I did not spend it, I was overfunded, as the borough manager wanted to say. So what happened to those dollars?
Well, you're in the general fund, and we were in a deficit for a long time, so it's gonna have to go in and,
Because you didn't spend money, that
right?
doesn't mean it's laying somewhere.
Right,
It's waiting.
right.
So did we not
The police
collect it
department
somewhere?
doesn't have a revenue stream, so you can't compare apples to oranges. I mean,
Well, I tend to disagree with that. Yes, we do have part of the revenue stream. How much money have we brought in this year for the police department?
50,000.
Huh?
50?
Borough manager?
yeah,
Okay.
let me let you know.
You can't,
I don't-
you shouldn't talk
can't-
about budgeting on how much revenue the police department.
You're right.
It's not a
You can't,
proper.
that's why I'm trying not to go there,
But yes, you
Not-
can. Well, if you're going to say that we do not bring any revenue
but. I'm
in,
not saying you didn't bring revenue, George, just saying
That's
it's
not
not
a
a,
topic for
it's
discussion.
not a revenue balance.
right, there's no doubt. We do not make, well, in the police department to pay us to make it a zero item. There's no doubt about that.
That's all it was my, it was just.
So we got a lot of decisions to be made.
And actually, like I said, what you mentioned at your, one of the meetings several months ago was something that council needs to do. We need to look for additional revenue. Because again, we can't base off spending just on the taxpayer. So again, we need to start turning our assessment around in this town, and the only way we're gonna get people to move here is if taxes are reasonable. So with this whole budget, again, you know,
Anyhow, that's about it. Anybody got an idea we're gonna change anything or not?
Thank you, George. Next we have Prince Kurto.
Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, council, I'll first say thank you. You know what, and I appreciate all of your hard work. For the past 4+ years, when I finally started watching you guys monitoring, asking questions, you've had some major improvements, some success stories, and I firmly believe that we're on a very positive path right now. However, as you may remember, I was here last year around the same time to discuss the Morrisville Police Department when you wanted to cut the chief's budget last year. Learning there's an attempt to cut the budget by up to $3 million, which we just talked about, the chief just talked about the shortfall. Cutting taxes is a wonderful thing, you should be commended for it, but never at the expense of public safety, and that's where the chief was headed. which is my fear, which is the reason why I'm here to talk to you. I do not want my taxes, or my tax money, to be spent on new carpet, office furniture, or any other related items that prohibit purchase of life-essential equipment and/or training needs that the Morrisville Police Department needs. As the chief mentioned, the training has stopped lawsuits. When you don't properly train an officer, you run the risk of getting killed. That's reality. We have a challenging school system. I've worked with David Miller to try to get those taxes lowered. Not a lot of luck, but tried. But when you do not have public safety, what I experienced prior to Chief Clay running the department, all of your efforts in improving our little borough is diminished because of the criminal element. I ask and plead that you reconsider and look at what the chief is requesting in your final budget. Mr. Sylvie and I chatted last week. He assures me the chief will be properly funded. In closing, I wish to share a parable from the Bible, the mustard seed. He sent another man before them, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is smaller than all the seeds. But when it grows, or when it is grown, it is greater than the herbs, and becomes a tree. So the birds of the air and all can come and lodge in its branches safely. A mustard seed that turns into a tree will require water and to be fed to continue its protection. The departments are a tree. You guys have fed that properly. If you don't feed it properly, it withers and it dies. God bless, and a very Merry Christmas to each and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else for public comment tonight?
Bill Farrell, 347 North Pennsylvania. The way the world is today, my priority in a citizen of this town should be safety. That's the police department. I don't know all these numbers you're throwing around. I don't have this information, but if that's what's needed, that should be our priority here. I know taxes is a very tough thing to deal with. The government in Washington, the one in Harrisburg, and all these local people are struggling. We all know that. But there's no way that there should be one police officer on duty on any shift. Not with all the goofballs out there in town. Their safety should be our concern first too. Because if you have two, it's better. Whatever you do, I think you should make that a priority to let the police department, if they need to hire another full-time officer, that should be done. If the taxes go up, hey, people don't want to see taxes go up. But I don't mind seeing taxes